I remember the first day of music theory and harmony in college in my freshman year. One of the first things the professor said was music and life can be broken down into simply tension and release. So we're going to look in the next class at the seven chords in a major key. And all of those chords will either be tension or release chords, but also melodically. There are seven notes in the major scale. Those seven notes are either tension notes or release notes. So if we look at some of our tension notes, one of the strongest tension note is the seventh note of the scale. It's called a leading tone because it's leading you back to the one, or it's leading you back to the eighth note, the eighth octave here. The seventh note of the scale wants to what we call resolve to the eighth note, or the one, the tonic. And if we pause on that one, we'll call that what's called a cadence. A cadence is a place in the music where we pause. And if we pause on a chord that sounds finished, this would be like a complete cadence. If we pause on a chord that sounds finished, or a release chord, we call that a complete cadence. If we pause on a tension note or a tension chord, we call that an incomplete cadence. It would be like a comma in a sentence, where a complete cadence would be like a period in a sentence. So this would be like an incomplete cadence. And we'll learn about chords in our next class. And this would be a complete cadence, because we have tension chords and release chords, tension notes and release notes. You know, it's actually possible to analyze melodies. We're going to learn chord analysis. We're going to learn how to analyze chords of popular songs to see why they sound great. We're going to learn how to analyze the chords of stuff you've already written and produced. And we're going to learn, after doing that, how to make them better using chord extensions, substitute chords, pedal tones, and other stuff like that. So, the seventh note of the scale is one of the biggest tension notes. It wants to resolve to the one. The five note of the scale, likewise the five chord we'll learn, the five note of the scale is also a tension note, and it wants to go home to one. And that's the classic 5-1 relationship. We're going to learn later that a lot of music is based around the relationship of 5-1, 5-1, 5-1. So the fifth note of the scale, we call it the dominant, because it really wants to go to one. And we call that 5-5-1 cadence would be a complete cadence. So the seventh note is a leading tone, a big tension note. The fifth note of the scale is a dominant. It's a big leading note. It wants you to go to one. And much of music revolves around the 5-1 relationship. We'll learn in a later class. The fourth note of the scale is also a leading tone, and it wants to resolve to the third note of the scale. A lot of you will recognize this as amen in church. That's called a complete cadence, because the fourth note of the melody is a leading tone or a tension note, and it wants to go to three, which is a home note. So what's interesting is if we add these two strong leading tones, and then we take those where they want to resolve, we start seeing our harmonic structures. The fourth note of the scale also likes to go to the dominant. We call the fourth note, or the fourth chord of a key, the subdominant, because it's below the dominant, which is the fifth note. And it likes to go to either 5 or 1. So 4-5-1 is a typical progression, or just 4-1 is a typical cadence. So, as we look at chords in our next class, and as we look at melody notes, we see that some of them are tension chords in notes, and some are release chords in notes. And now we're learning to build melody and chord changes.